Welcome to Chanel, the latest news in the clear sky over the winter-yellowed marsh grasses on the outskirts of the town of Mariupol. The bang and crump of artillery picked up pace like the thunderclaps of a distant but approaching storm. The Russian armed forces declared on Sunday that they had launched a new offensive in Zaporizhzhia region, but the Ukrainian soldiers seemed unperturbed. The front line here has not moved for 10 months, and the Russians are hunkered in their trenches, which run across the rolling hills of black soil farmland. They are not going anywhere soon, the soldiers said. There is more activity in these past couple of weeks with shelling from artillery and even from tanks, but they don't send infantry over the line because they're scared, said Vitaly, a senior sergeant in the 56th Mariupol motorized infantry brigade, which is holding the line around this town 60 miles, 100 kilometers, east of Zaporizhzhia city. However, Vitaly acknowledged that the frozen line was beginning to heat up. The number of incoming shells and rockets on this segment of the southern front has more than doubled this month to 4,000 a day. 2 weeks earlier, the Russians had twice sent a handful of tanks forward to probe the Ukrainian lines only to pull back under fire. Sooner or later, most likely in the next few months, one side would make its move and try to break the deadlock. The question is, who will strike first and where? The big battle is coming this spring, or even before, Vitaly said. Whether it arrives here or somewhere else along the 750-mile front line, the storm is expected to break this spring, ushering in what may prove to the most intense phase of the war so far. In anticipation, both sides are using this time to strengthen their defenses. Vitaly's men use every day to harden their shelters, and across the plain to the south, the invading force has erected 2 more lines of defense, comprising minefields, slit trenches, tank traps and phalanxes of small concrete pyramids known as dragon's teeth. One is to protect a railway line that brought supplies from Russia and the Russian-held town of Mariupol, a strategic hub. A nearby village, Polyanivka, was reportedly emptied of its population this month so that it could made part of the defensive wall. The second, most formidable line of fortifications guards the neck of land that leads to Crimea. While these defensive preparations are obvious, it is less clear whether the Russians are stealthily accumulating the means to go on the attack. The Ukrainians have been watching carefully, through drone, satellite and human sources, as the Russians move mechanized units from Crimea towards the eastern front in Donetsk and Luhansk. They are looking for signs of any armor being quietly diverted north towards the line around Mariupol, and they have noticed that the troops on the other side are not all raw recruits, but include a tough and experienced marine unit. Russia is relentlessly building up its forces while Vladimir Putin is moving the economy towards a war footing to churn out new tanks and missiles. The chief of the Russian General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, has been put in direct charge of Ukrainian operations, a move seen by many analysts as presaging a major offensive. The first phase of Russia's all-out invasion ended in debacle for Putin's forces, which were driven back from the north, then from the Kharkiv region in September, and from northern Kherson Oblast as well as Kherson Oblast west of the Dnieper in November. The second phase has been an attempt at a war of attrition, with thousands of Russian mercenaries and convicts sacrificed for small territorial gains around the towns of Bakhmut and Soledar, combined with an effort to freeze Ukrainians into submission with mass missile attacks on power plants, electricity transmission infrastructure and water facilities. This second phase was almost as complete a defeat as the first. Russia has used much of its cruise missile arsenal, and while Ukraine's power grid is battered, the lights are still on and the Ukrainian will to fight is undimmed. The third phase is about to start, an all-out battle for decisive advantage using combined arms, mechanized infantry, artillery, air power and possibly waterborne assault, to overcome fixed positions.